Welcome to this new episode. We ended our last episode discussing about the Catholic stand of their clergy being unmarried. We contrasted it with the biblical stand, and we have seen how diametrically opposite are both the positions. Click on the iCard on the top right of the screen to go to our earlier episodes. We had clearly mentioned that as per the scripture, forbidding anybody to marry is the doctrine of devils. 1 Timothy chapter 4 verse 3. Now if you follow the doctrine of devils, what do you expect the result to be? Of course, we can expect these people to behave like the devil, right? Because of this thing, we find so many cases of perverted sexuality among the Roman Catholic clergy. Rape, homosexuality, pedophilia, and whatnot. The whole world knows it. And what is the response of the Catholic Church? They transfer these perverts from one place to another. They think that once this person goes to the faraway land, he can be made a holy guy in the new place. Listen to this small clip about how they deal with pedophiles among them.
Two, I had to make a moral decision. Am I going to support this institution? Am I part of this? Or do I have to find a different path? And that's when I chose to take a different path and to help Survivor.
What do you think of numbers?
Since then, Patrick Wall has become a whistleblower, an expert called on to testify in over 2,000 cases of priests accused of sexual abuse. According to him, the Catholic Church has developed a system to exfiltrate pedophile priests.
That's the same pattern we've seen in Australia. It's the same pattern we've seen in the United States. It's the same pattern we've seen in Canada. It's the same pattern in Ireland, in England, in Italy. It's honestly, it's in the DNA of the Roman Catholic system. And I like to call this the geographic solution. So what the bishop needs to do then, he finds out that the priest is a perpetrator. And then at that point, he simply moves him to a different spot where the previous scandal is not known.
And if it's not enough?
You move him outside the country. That's the geographic solution. You can move him from continent to continent as long as he can speak the language that is needed. It looks legitimate, and so he's going to be accepted without question. That's where the danger comes in.
Africa. Our investigation into these international exiles took us to Cameroon, to Argentina, to the United States, to France, and to Italy. During our travels, we established this unprecedented map that regarding the transfers of priests involved in cases of pedophilia.
Il y a quand même cette idée que quelqu'un qui a été un prédateur pour des enfants, finalement, s'il va en Afrique ou s'il va en Amérique latine, c'est pas bien grave, c'est criminel.
And the victims number tens of thousands, marked with scars for the rest of their lives. Our investigations would lead us all the way to Pope Francis. We'll reveal how, when he was Archbishop of Buenos Aires, he tried to influence the Argentine Justice Department.
So if the Pope himself is shielding these perverts, what do you expect of the others? Do you expect the laity to get any form of justice any time in the future? So there goes the doctrine of continency of the Catholic Church, straight out of the window. Now let us move on to the next problem. There is a saying that power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Now the harlot is ruling over the masses. They wanted to put a stop to any dissenting voice. Therefore, it was of utmost importance to ban the Bible. This particular event happened in the year 1229. They officially banned the Bible and burnt all copies few years later. It became a criminal offense to have the Bible in your possession. Check out these two decrees from the Harlot Church. Decree of the Council of Toulouse, 1229. We prohibit also that the laity should be permitted to have the books of the Old or New Testament. but we most strictly forbid their having the translation of these books. Then let's go to the next ruling. Ruling of the Council of Tarragona of 1234. No one may possess the books of the Old and New Testaments in the Romance language, and if anyone possesses them, he must turn them over to the local bishop within 8 days after promulgation of this decree, so that they may be burned. I'm telling you all this so that people who boast at their traditions cannot pick and choose. You cannot disown these evil actions of your church. You get it as a package. After the Roman Church had consolidated its position and power in the early Middle Ages, heretics came to be regarded as the enemies of the society. So if you do not believe in the doctrines of the Roman Catholic Church, you are a heretic. The crime of heresy was defined as a deliberate denial of an article of truth of the Catholic faith and a public and obstinate persistence in their position. A propaganda was unleashed by the ever-powerful Roman Catholic Church that these people whom they branded as heretics are damaging for the society. Pope Gregory IX instituted the Papal Inquisition in the year 1231 for the apprehension and trial of heretics. The name Inquisition is derived from the Latin verb inquiro, which means inquire into. The inquisitors did not wait for complaints but sought out persons accused of heresy. It's like the blasphemy law in many Islamic countries. If you are accused of disbelieving the Catholic doctrines, you are automatically guilty. Hence, you will be punished by death or severe torture till you recant your position. The Inquisition was created to combat groups like the Cathari and Waldenses. However, they expanded the domain to include anybody who did not come in line with the Catholic Church. So these people branded as heretics were handed over to the government for torture and punishments. The punishments included even burning at the stake. Come to think of it, the deviation started with a seemingly inconsequential infant baptism. And now it has reached a state where the persecuted church of the 1st and 2nd century has become the persecutor of the 12th century. What a phenomenal change. They have got the control in their hands. Remember that control is the opposite of freedom. Jesus came to set us free, and now the so-called church has become the perpetrator, having removed all freedoms from people. It is the true manifestation of the devil. Let us discuss about another twist in the story of the auricular confession. Now that they have this great power, they have to ensure that the tentacles of the institutional church have to be powerful enough to know things within the kingdom. They knew that the power of information is the real power. So they brought up this new idea of getting the sins confessed by the people to the priest. This will give them a grip that nobody can release. You can see this type of confessional boxes in the institutional church buildings. These are special places where the so-called confession and pardon is done for the sins of the laity. What do you think happens here? The priest gets to know the secrets of the people, telling them that their stories are confidential. Rarely do they know that this is a spy network which is being used by the clergy to control the laity. This is against the biblical principle of confessing the sins to the Lord. It defies all logic why the sins are confessed to these middlemen of the multinational religious corporations. Psalms 32:5 states that, "Then I acknowledged my sin to you and did not cover up my iniquity. I said, I will confess my transgressions to the Lord." Confess my transgressions to the Lord, not to the priest, and you forgive the guilt of my sin. So, as we end this episode, remember that control is the opposite of freedom, and Jesus came to set us free. Knowledge is power, and do not be ignorant when it comes to matters that define your eternity. If you have liked this content, please consider subscribing it, and do not forget to click on the bell icon so that you may be notified of our future videos. Thank you.